Welcome to my library, dear guest. My name is Ko, and I will be your storyteller. It's been quite a while now, hasn't it? Alas, I finally feel fine again. This break has most definitely served me well, and I have to thank you for being as patient as you were with me. And I must say, I am very, very happy to be back here with you people. Now, today's stories were submitted into my Discord server, link in the description below, so greetings to the authors of these tales. Now, without further ado, let us begin with the first story. Story number 1. DM tried to make his players a harem, not including me, the fat guy. By the author, I Sell Cabbages. I am going to try to be brief, but I love to explain and go into details, so I am so sorry for the length of this story. 3.5-ish years ago, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to join the game her ex was DMing. She and he had gotten along well after the breakup, but she said she would feel better if someone else she knew was there too, and I obliged. We had 4 women and 2 guys as players, then a male DM. The players are as follows. Me, a lizard folk ranger named Trigger. In real life, I'm just a chubby guy and nothing special. Cooper, the other male player. He was playing an awakened squirrel cleric. Persephone, one of the twin sisters playing. She was a tiefling rogue. Celeste, the other one of the twin sisters. She was playing a warforged necromancer. Kat, another player who was good friends with the twins. She was playing a tabaxi paladin. I chose the name Kat because she is playing a cat, and I think that is funny. Dolly, someone I actually knew outside of the campaign. She was playing a little girl human rogue resembling Red Riding Hood. Sadly, after we all got our characters made, my friend told me that they didn't feel comfortable playing with their ex, but kept telling me that they wanted me to play since they knew I was the forever DM and didn't want them not being there to be a factor. Since I knew Dolly, I decided to play still. We meet up for the first session, and Persephone's rogue starts flirting with my lizard folk. Kinda out of nowhere. She explained out of character that her tiefling had ties with the demon of lust, and she found my lizard folk very enticing. My lizard folk with an intelligence of 5 told her, "I like your tail," and they started a small fling with each other. Persephone would start to message me small things that she thought would be cute for her characters to do, and it was all pretty funny, so I went along with it. When I would hang out with Dolly, when I would get a message from Persephone, she would always jokingly say, "Oh, is that your girlfriend texting you again?" And I would respond with, "Yeah, right," or "You wish," or "Please, she can do better than me." I have very low self-esteem, and I'm oblivious to people flirting, so even if she was legitimately flirting, I would have never known. After a few sessions, Persephone messaged the DM and I. Something happened between her and Cooper, and I don't want to go into details, but it shocked me and made me absolutely disgusted. The DM kicked Cooper from the party immediately. It was a horrible situation, but I had to admit it felt nice knowing that Persephone trusted me enough to include me in the message she sent to the DM. A few sessions later, we get to a town where we go to an inn for the night. Persephone insisted that my lizard folk and her tiefling shared a room, to which the tabaxi asked, "I have a tail, why can't I be in that room too?" To which my lizard folk responded, "Because I think you're too hairy," or something along those lines. At the time, I thought it was caught role-playing that she didn't want her paladin in a group with people who are doing a fade to black premaritally, and wanted to disrupt it if she could. I thought it was hilarious. However, during our season break, the DM asked Dolly and me to come pick up pizza with him. We agreed. In the car right there, he told me about how one of the players messaged him about how we are going above and beyond with our little in-character fling, and it made them uncomfortable. My first thought was that it was Persephone, and that I somehow crossed the line, so I said, "Oh dear, I hope I didn't make Persephone uncomfortable." "I don't think Persephone would ever be uncomfortable with anything you say to her," Dolly said after, smiling and winking at me. I laughed at her, but the DM gave her the biggest stink eye I had ever seen. It then crossed my mind that Kat tried to break up the fade to black, and so I then assumed it was her. So, we started back with the pizza, and I had asked to talk to Persephone in private. I wanted to let her know the situation and that it shouldn't shock her when my character kind of stopped with the flirting. And she didn't like it, because she was enjoying our little roleplays, but she ultimately understood. Celeste's Warforged and my lizard folk started growing to be great friends. And out of the campaign, Celeste and I started becoming good friends as well. Though she and I would talk to each other often in person and while grabbing coffee or something, Persephone still messaged quite a bit too. Celeste would sometimes joke about how I'm very similar to her boyfriend, and it's funny too because our initials were reversed of each other. She would even joke and say how if I dated Persephone that it would all be one big circle. Again, I am oblivious to things that are obviously slapping me in the face, so I laughed it off as a good joke. Now, during this time I was running a campaign with these players as well, allowing the DM to be a player in my campaign so we could both be players. The only one not in my campaign at that time was Kat, as she was overwhelmed with some personal life things and could only focus on one campaign at that point. In my campaign, Persephone's character, a Lamia druid, was innocently hitting on all of the NPCs, and the DM's character, we shall call him Derek, would get upset any time she would do any form of roleplay because it always involved romance. She said it got her character, as she was a healer looking to find a cure for a disease that killed her last lover, and that she was trying to cope as politely as possible. Derek, however, would always complain about how her role-playing would always take way too long, and how he would want to be part of the role-playing so that way he wasn't wasting his time with her flirting. Finally, one weekend, I told the group I was going to be out of town. I was celebrating my birthday with a friend who has a birthday a day before I do, so I wouldn't be able to play that weekend. Naturally, the weekend I am gone, a lot of drama happens. I'm not 100% certain what happened since I wasn't there, but hearing from Dolly after, I vaguely remember it had something to do with Kat. Even though Kat was a paladin, she was not built for tanking at all. My ranger would usually tank, so it wasn't that bad, but considering I wasn't there, she was the dedicated party tank. I think she got super anxious about her character. Her first ever character she played was going to die, and she lashed out. She should not have done that, but I suppose there was an argument that happened, and Kat was no longer a part of that campaign. I knew none of this that night. What I did know, however, was that Persephone messaged me a bunch of Discord messages when I was at dinner with my friend and had my phone off. I looked at my phone and only remember seeing the notification saying, "So our characters can flirt again now," or something. But upon opening Discord, all of the messages had been deleted. I asked Persephone what was up. She explained that Kat wasn't in the campaign anymore, and I was like, "Oh, that stings, but I hope everything is okay." I did question why I had 20+ notifications from Persephone while my phone was off. I just assumed it was all related to this instance. Also, in Kat's place, the twins' cousin joined the party. We will call her Nellie. Finally, after many months of being friends, Persephone asked me to go out with her. I said, yeah, we could hang out. We went to the mall. I bought us dinner. It was fun. And it all hit me like a truck when she said, "So, how are you enjoying our date so far?" All this time, she was genuinely flirting with me, and I had no idea. My face went bright red. She laughed, and that day she and I legit started dating. It surprised me, but it didn't surprise anyone else. Dolly and Celeste both said, "Well, it's about damn time!" And everyone seemed happy. Everyone except for the DM. Once I broke the news on Facebook by changing my relationship status to "in a relationship," the DM messaged me and said that he had a bit of a crush on Persephone. He said he was happy she found a good guy, though, but he was still sad, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm so sorry." But at the same time, I was happy, and Persephone was happy. So we weren't going to stop dating just for him. I brought this up to her, and Persephone told me that she went on one date with him, in the past at college, and said it wouldn't work out. She said all she got out of the date was pizza and sunburn. Then, the incidents started happening. Derek started getting mad at everything to NPCs or Persephone's druid would do, and as a DM he started having characters start to treat everyone like crap. He just suddenly became someone who wasn't fun to be around. I tried not to take it personally, but a lot of it seemed pretty personal the way he was taking it. One day, during a session, he kind of snapped. He was being very mopey, complaining about how he didn't have a girlfriend, and how he wanted one, and how he kept looking at the girls in the group to comfort him. At that time, Nellie was the only girl who wasn't seeing someone. He was mopey around her, but even more mopey around the rest of them. He kind of stopped talking to me altogether unless I said something in character to his NPCs, or he was hitting me in combat. Which, oddly enough, wasn't a lot. He kept targeting the women of the group. They had been brutalized a lot, but my character was often fine. We would miss a lot, even when rolling high rolls. It seemed like he was out for blood. But finally, I think the DM could sense the tension and decided to, one day, just scrap that campaign and start a brand new one. So, we joined his new campaign, which was based off of the new She-Ra show at the time. It just started airing when this campaign started. And I made an orc bard. She was very happy-go-lucky and kind to everyone. But everyone treated her like garbage. Meanwhile, all of the NPCs treated all of the ladies' characters with respect. They said they liked women more than men, and when my orc mentioned, "I am a lady," his NPC stated that she didn't look like one. This made my orc cry as she did her best to wear makeup and dye her hair pink, and stand out to look pretty. The other player characters tried to comfort her, and then the DM said something that kind of caught everyone off guard. "If only women would treat me the way you all treat OP's characters." Again, at this point, Dolly and Celeste had significant others, and Persephone was dating me. The session had ended awkwardly with us finding an ancient ruin, and then we all left for home. I decided to take some time from my campaign as well, mainly because he had been a problem in that campaign too. He made a new character that was specifically designed to kill off NPCs that the party liked, and to annoy the party with their childlike wonder. He even pulled the trick of, "She acts like a kid and looks like a young teenager, but she's over 300 years old, so she's good for dating." And I responded with, "If she acts like a child, she's not getting romantic with anyone in my campaign." Which he always tried it for anyways with Celeste's character, an edgy rogue. Now, we had taken a break from my campaign, and from his as well. And I don't recall exactly what happened. This was 3 years ago after all. But I vaguely remember him being incredibly rude towards the ladies, and getting angry towards me as well. The only thing I truly remember is how we took care of the situation. We removed him from my campaign and all left his campaign. All of this after he started dating Nellie as well. Years later, I am happily still together with Persephone, and we are all currently playing a campaign with Kat as well. And Kat, who is playing a paladin again, is now much less afraid of dying. Overall, this story had a happy ending. Persephone and I are just doing great. How she looks at my face and says, "You're cute," without immediately gagging is a mystery to me. Celeste and I are still great friends, and though I don't talk to Dolly as much anymore, I believe she's still doing well. As weird as it sounds, though the ending of the story was kind of a nightmare that happened suddenly and all at once, I'm so happy this campaign happened, because if it didn't, I wouldn't be as happy as I am now. Dear Lord, I know that was a lot. I'm so sorry. Hey, no need to be sorry. This was quite nice to read, given it had a happy ending this time around. Just, my god, if that isn't some of the most pathetic display of overt jealousy I've seen in a while. "You don't get to be in a happy relationship if I am not," is really what this seems to be. And it's just sad. Definitely pitiful. Maybe, DM, maybe, if you put that petty act behind you, women would be more attracted to you. Because it's behavior like this that makes you really, really ugly. Pfft. If only women would treat me the way you all treat OP's characters. Well, maybe they would if you weren't the one bullying them. By Saloon. No self-reflection in that one. And congratulations to you and Persephone, by the way. You sound like a lovely couple. Author, about your self-esteem. It's something I really understand, I do. But you do have to keep in mind that there is a reason that Persephone has been with you all this time now. If she saw you the way you do yourself, I doubt she would have. So try to view yourself the way she does. I'm sure you're a wonderful guy, so try to not let those nasty thoughts get to you, even when it's easier said than done. I am sure Persephone would gladly help you with that. Now, all that being said, let's move on to story number 2. Story number 2. No title. I probably should have mentioned that we need titles. By the author, RPG Rooster. The central character. I was playing in a Star Wars D20 game online with several longtime online friends. We each played 2 characters because initially there were 2 groups that met on different days that eventually merged into one. We got to pick which character we assigned for each mission. This will be important later. My 2 characters were initially a Zabrak Fringer with latent force abilities, and a Chiss Scoundrel who was an unapologetic export of Widowmaker from Overwatch. I played with one very chill and acquiescent player who played support characters, a human Jedi focused on healing, and a human techie. One player new to the system but well-versed in Star Wars, playing a Nautolan Holovitz Star and her bodyguard droid. And a player who joined later with one character with a Padawan of Ahsoka Tano. Then there was that guy. That guy usually was the GM and was thrilled to be a player for once, or so he said. His two characters. One was a clear export of the Mandalorian, and one a dark side Force user with dreams of returning the dark side to what it was centuries ago. Now, I have a very long relationship with most of these people and the GM. Over a decade for some. It started out fine. Eventually, however, that guy would go off on his own and leave the rest of us sitting while he did his side quests with the GM. Our GM is on the spectrum, so it's sort of hard for him to multitask when we frequently split the party, so we were understanding. Eventually, however, everyone else except for our super chill player had enough of it. I had to private message at least one person every session to keep them from leaving. What's worse is that he was, at first, subtly, then openly, hijacking the campaign. He got permission to run a short side quest for us, which probably would have never finished if it weren't for the GM insisting he wrap it up. And another totally unauthorized side mission for himself and the chill player to give them more loot than the rest of us had. He was told by the GM the unauthorized mission would net loot, he said, for all the players, and not be that guy's reward. If that guy had an answer to a problem the party was facing, if they weren't the central character in the scene, he'd shut up in and out of character. And he'd even pick the wrong character for a mission so he could educate us in what we did wrong after the fact. Eventually, the players and the GM just gave up. We just let the game die and played elsewhere without the problem player. I've since had to block that guy, and my life has become more peaceful since. Apologies if I pronounced any of this the wrong way. I have actually only watched Star Wars Episode 1 and 7. However, either way, splitting the party for longer amounts of time, say several sessions, is difficult to handle for almost any GM, I believe. The lone wolf sort of character is rather difficult in D&D or just TTRPG in general, given you play in a group. You can certainly make a character like that, but they do need a strong reason to actually stay and work with the group, and not separate themselves the whole time and do their own thing. You might as well play an entirely different game at that point. Don't have much to say about the side mission, except if it was unauthorized, I as the GM would have said, "Sure, you can do that, but it isn't going to be canon at all." So, anything you earn, learn, and say is going to be non-existent in the main campaign. Easy as that. Before we end today's video, we actually have a new segment in these videos. Welcome to the Exhibition Journal, where I display the fan art you made for me. I promised I would set something like this up if we had enough fan art to fall back up on for a while. And we most definitely do now. All of you made such amazing fan art, I really, really want to show that off. Starting with this one. Oh, the first fan art I have ever gotten for this channel. Done by a close friend of mine, actually. An amazing person who, by the way, also made the background for this segment, making me look smaller and cuter than I am. And I have to say, I love how you managed to include a feather pattern even in a sketch style. I always find them hard enough to draw as is, but you really made it work and look extremely fluffy too. Thank you so much for your fan art, Cinderay. Their socials are displayed on screen and will be linked in the description as well. Mega shout out to them. Please check them out, they do amazing work. Now we get to the last talking points. Well, for one, since I haven't really made it into an actual announcement within the video last time, I have a Patreon now. There are no tiers to it, so see it as more of a tip jar if you enjoy what I am doing here and wish to support me. Every little bit is greatly appreciated. Especially since, costs just kind of keep piling up lately and just slightly. But, of course, never feel, obligated to donate to a stranger online. This is honestly only if you can afford and wish to do so. Now, last point. I wish to make clear that I'm now using a different editing program, and the reason I mention this is that it may take me some time to find a consistent editing style within this software. So I do hope that will not throw you off. It means something like I may try out different transitions, fonts, etc., until I figure out something and stick with it. Now, with all that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed your stay, and that I will see you again soon. For there are always more stories to be shared.